Thank you all. Can you hear me? Thank you all so much for inviting me. I feel so profoundly honored to be here today and be a part of this group that was all sprouted out by Dr. Wigmore. I'm glad that you're getting the opportunity to see the profound effect this little lady had on the world that we live in today. My own personal experience with her was I was a very sickly child, I was a very sickly young adult, and I was fortunate enough to find vegetarianism. After a few years, I progressed to veganism, and during that time, I had someone come up to me and say, "Do you do wheatgrass?" And I thought, wheatgrass? What the heck is wheatgrass? So I proceeded to investigate it, and I found out about Dr. Wigmore, and I called her on the telephone. I just picked up the phone in Boston and called her and said, "Dr. Wigmore." She was so gracious, so lovely, and she changed my life. She changed my life forever. I'd like to say that if it weren't for Dr. Wigmore, I wouldn't be doing anything that I am today. All the women in my family died overweight and very young. My mom died at 46, my grandmother died at 50, and my great-grandmother died at 60, so all the women in my family were not known for longevity. I was a vegan, and I was doing relatively well, but I still lived with a lot of the fears, what most of us do, about our health and the consciousness of how we're going to live. Well, I ended up going to Boston, meeting Dr. Wigmore. We became friends. I started cleansing and detoxing my body, and oh, what a profound effect it had. Today I can say I'm 65 years old. I don't know what illness is. I don't know what tiredness is. I know you've heard many of us say this throughout the evening, but you literally can change your life. You can go backwards. The body is a self-regenerating organism, which I learned from Dr. Wigmore, and I learned all the tools to change that for myself. She used to come and stay with me. When she would go to Creative Health Institute to speak there, she would come to Chicago and stay with me in my home, and I got to see all the little idiosyncrasies, the beet juice on the cheeks, and the shopping in the, well, we call them antique stores, but they were resale shops. She loved to go shopping in resale shops. And I would bring her to Chicago, and she would speak at the Unity Church, and we would get 450 people to come and hear her speak. Well, after hearing her speak for a while, people started coming to me and asking me, well, how can we do more of what Dr. Wigmore is doing? And I would send them to the Creative Health Institute. But everybody couldn't get away, and you all can't always get away. So learning at home how to take care of themselves became my profession. Anyway, so learning to heal and cleanse yourself at home became my mission. And I opened up the very first raw food restaurant in Chicago. I'm the longest standing raw food restaurant in the country now, in the meatpacking capital of the world. And we have thousands and thousands of people that go through. Dr. Wigmore has changed the lives countlessly of people. I started growing wheatgrass in Chicago, and she would come to Chicago and help me with my wheatgrass. I mean, she was just such a giving, loving soul. No one was ever turned her away. I'll never forget once she was in my home, and I had a bunch of people over afterwards to meet her, and she walked in the door and she said, well, what are all these people doing here? And I said, well, they're here to meet you, Dr. Wigmore. And she said, get rid of them, my dear. And that was just her way of saying, you know what, the day is over. If they want to learn, let them come to my institute in Boston and learn from me. But anyway, I'm not going to spend a lot of time because it's been an extremely long day. I will be speaking tomorrow at 10 a.m. in the morning. But what I want to say about Dr. Wigmore, I think can sum it up for all of us. The most important thing that we all learned from her, and it resonates throughout the world because of her, is that if we don't take care of our bodies, the most magnificent machines will ever be given. Where will you live? Thank you. Short and sweet.
Thank you, Karyn. We'll hear more from Karyn tomorrow. She'll get in detail as to exactly what she does about detoxification, diet, and you. I need to say two things about Karyn. When we started, I guess, our odyssey to try to collect all the ambassadors here, I called many people, and it came to be Karyn's turn. So I called her up, and I explained to Karyn what our mission was, And she automatically says, I have to go to Lithuania. If it wasn't for Ann Wigmore, you know, where would I be? And she quickly looked at her calendar, and Karyn, she completes her calendar for about a year in advance. She looked at September. September was completely booked because she has many classes in Chicago, detoxification classes, you know, and everything else. And you know, my stomach sort of dropped a little bit because she's an incredible example of what a person is that lives the lifestyle that Ann Wigmore has, you know, taught everybody. So, you know, you sort of let fate take its course. So the next day, you know, I'm doing work. Paulus and I are calling back and forth. You know, we used to communicate probably around 2-3 times a day on Skype to organize things. I get a call from Karyn, and she says, guess what? I wiped out my September calendar. I'm going to Lithuania. And, you know, when I heard that, I had an incredible burst of energy and inspiration. Then I really started to get after everybody else. Oh, yeah, exactly. So as you know, time was rolling on, everything was working. We were about 2 weeks away from coming here. All of a sudden, we get a message that Karyn fell and broke her wrist and broke her arm. And you can see, you know, her arm and wrist. And then we got worried, oh my God, you know, is she going to not be able to come because she was in a lot of pain, and she doesn't go through conventional medicine too much, you know. Usually Viktoras Kulvinskas comes up with a lot of suggestions. As a matter of fact, she healed quite quickly. So I think Karyn really needs a big hand here, you know, for her effort and I guess everything that she did in order to come to Lithuania, okay?